Where's?
How you doing?
Mint or
Mint.
have a little
Well,
coffee?
I have this, but it's really potent. You want to try one?
So wait, so each one?
I just do one though, and then do the other one,
I just
because they're strong.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Where's Brian? I'd like to ask if we have any special intentions this morning?
Thank you. I'd just like to keep two families in our thoughts and prayers, one for a longtime family friend who did a lot of good for our family, Miss Ollie Hunter, and also a District 4 District 4 resident, Mike Migliori, who passed away recently, and their services were both last weekend. Please keep their families and them in your prayers. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call Pastor Barbara Hunter up to open the meeting with a prayer.
Let us pray. God of our hope, we look to you when days are delightful and when days are long and hard, when problems seem huge and answers are not easy. Be with these leaders in our community, especially those people who are suffering with illness or in grief, as we seek for your wisdom, for kindness and compassion, and as efforts are made to make life better for all people. Thank you for our many blessings of home, family, and friends, our city, and our nation. Thank you for loving us always. Amen.
Amen. As I talked to everyone, I am going to be picking people from the audience to lead us in the pledge, and today it will be Mr. Al Morella.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this morning. Councilman Segura is absent. Is there any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none. Under the consent agenda, we have item 1, approval of minutes of the regular council meeting of January 9th, 2020. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebracion Hispana de Kenner on March 28th, 2020 and March 29th, 2020 at 4545 Williams Boulevard, green space, rear of the Pontchartrain Center, being property owned by the city of Kenner. Item 2B is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to the Friends of Rivertown on February 22nd, 2020 at 3800 Loyola Drive, being property owned by the city of Kenner. Item 2C is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to the Friends of Rivertown on February 24th, 2020 at 415 Williams Boulevard, being property owned by the city of Kenner. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2202-20, City of Kenner to hold a public gathering on February 24th, 2020 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the purpose of a Lundi Gras 2020 at the Rivertown parking lot at 400 Williams Boulevard. Item 3B is application number 2205-20, Crew of ISIS to hold a public gathering on February 22nd, 2020, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a Mardi Gras parade on various streets in the city of Kenner. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn.
Thank you, Council President. We did some code sweeps this past 2 weeks. On January 15th, both of them were in District 1. We did the 2,600 to 2,700 blocks of Gadsden, Phoenix, and Panama. Violations were 47. Warning violations were 39. Court summons was 0. Then they went on January 22nd, 2 days ago, to the 2,600 block to 2,700 blocks of Dawson, Tifton, and Helena. Violations were 79, warning violations were 50, and court summons was 0. I want to thank Councilman Carroll for his assistance on this, along with James Mohammed with the Code Enforcement Department. Obviously, those are a little bit high numbers. We don't like seeing those high numbers like that. We obviously have a lot more work to do there. We are doing that. We're getting to it. And I do want to, again, thank the Code Enforcement Department for doing that. Talking about doing some things that are positive in the city of Kenner, such as code sweeps, which help with what I'm going to go into next. Let's talk about economic development. This past week, we cut another ribbon. I believe it was at Arby's. 108 was the 108th ribbon cutting in the last 3 years. But I want to talk about what the Economic Development Department's doing, because when I made this decision to make it a department, but also have an outside consultant come in and do this, under the leadership of Ms. Candace Watkins, we just received, within the last 2 weeks, a $180,000 grant for economic development. Excuse me. This money will fund 2 economic development plans. One is the Rivertown Revitalization Plan. It'll talk about the future development of the historic district and act as a roadmap for Main Street program. That area is actually coming back very nicely. And I think it's because what we've all put together with Economic Development Board, the members on that board, and how we've put Candace Watkins, along with Ms. Kelly Hands and Ms. Heidi Glorioso in that area to help with that department. The second thing it will do is also do an Esplanade Mall redevelopment plan. It will look at attracting private investment through businesses, merchants, restaurants, entertainment facilities, possible housing, and some offices. That obviously needs to be done. We're still working very closely with the Esplanade Mall, working very closely with Main Street program in the Rivertown area to make a difference in 2 of those areas. I got to say, in the District 4 area, you do see a change. More businesses opening up and future businesses coming. When we cut the ribbon yesterday at Arby's, I made it very clear that I think right after Christmas, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Brannigan, right after Easter, we should see something happening, maybe an opening of the church,
Yes.
Church of the Christ or Church of the King.
Yes, Pastor Randy said their game plan is to open for Easter.
That would be perfect. And then the Club for Fitness has had a few setbacks, but that's coming back. That Pavilion Shopping Center has taken a big turn over the last 3 years. So we see things coming to the Pavilion Shopping Center. Once that Club for Fitness opens up, and that's correct, right, Club for Fitness?
Yes.
Once that opens up, you're going to see more coming to that area, such as the Arby's that we just cut the ribbon on yesterday. This money is coming to us, that $180,000, through the Road Home Program in Jefferson Parish, which is funded by Louisiana Office of Community Development Disaster Relief Unit. And let's just look at, in a short period of time, with Mrs. Watkins, who, look, I took a little criticism for this, and she took a little criticism coming in doing this, but look at what she's done in a short period of time. We've had a change in Rivertown with at least 2 to 3 more businesses that have opened up since she's been here with the Economic Development Department. 2 retail studies funded by you guys. I'll give y'all credit for that. Y'all took your monies that you had not used last fiscal year, and you actually put into 2 retail studies, hotel motel study and a retail study. And now this $180,000 grant. I think my investment in Candace Watkins has probably paid off. I'm going to say that. I'll go on the record saying that. It has made a change in what we're doing, and this is only probably in less than a year we've seen these changes. I look forward to what the rest of this year brings with economic development, headed by Candace Watkins, Kelly Hand, and also helping Heidi Glorioso, along with our Economic Development Board. I think we're going to see a lot more. Speaking about things going on and positive things, we'll talk about the Rivertown Jazz Brunch, which will happen actually on Sunday in Rivertown, in Councilman Carroll's district, District 1. It's the 5th annual. It'll be Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Proceeds will benefit the Historic District and the Rivertown Main Street program. We also have in Councilman Hayes' district, in Laketown, something very big that's coming here, the Big Easy Barbecue. I think it's something for us all to go to. I know you've all been invited, or if you haven't yet, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, we're going to kick that off on stage. Saturday is from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday is from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's the 4th annual state championship barbecue cook-off. This is something that's come to us from Jefferson Parish. It is now, as long as I can do something about it, I want to thank Chad Pitfield for helping orchestrate this. As long as I'm here and as long as they're happy, we're going to keep having this in District 3 in Laketown. People love Laketown. So the more we get in Laketown, the more we'll be able to do with that area also. So please try and make that, and I want the public to know I believe it's free to the public, so please go out there. Is it correct, Councilman Hayes? Free to the public. And go out there and support this event that's coming from outside of Kenner, coming to the city of Kenner, and hopefully we'll get them back. So we've had a lot of questions on the fire station that's not built yet. I have kept in contact with you all about where we are with it, but it's time that we all hear it in a public hearing and let the public hear it where we are. Mr. Frank Lang with Digital, which is the engineering firm that's handling this, is here today to give a little bit of a report. Council Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd like to yield my time to Mr. Lang, let him come in under the mayor comments and give you all a brief overview of where we are with it, and make sure that everyone knows we still have the proper fire coverage that we need for right now.
Okay, that'll work.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Frank Lang. I'm with Digital Engineering. I was asked to come here today to give everyone an update at where we are with the fire station facilities near Loyola and the interstate. As most of y'all have seen, the temporary station site has been completed. We work with City of Kenner Code Enforcement to get the limestone installed, and that has been completed. I know we're in the process of getting all the utilities hooked up for the new trailer, which my understanding is supposed to be possibly delivered by middle of next month, and so we're anticipating the temporary station to be open shortly thereafter. So that temporary station is going to be able to house men in a fire truck there to provide coverage for the fire station that was removed because of the interchange project. Couple other things that we've been working on is something called preemption. And what that is when a fire truck exits on a call, especially going southbound, as y'all know, there's like three lights. And what that does is, in the fire trucks, it gives the signals to those lights, and it will cause those lights to give a green to that fire truck that's heading south. So what that will do is help reduce the response time. So we've been working with City of Kenner also on that to implement that equipment into the traffic signal equipment, and that equipment also has to be implemented into the fire trucks. So our next big item of work at the fire station is the installation of a surcharge, which maybe some of y'all have seen it at the end of Williams, close to the lake where the new storage building is going. They had that big mound of dirt out there. So what that basically does is, since this fire station is being built at a site that's never been developed, that ground has not been, in engineering terms, been consolidated. Basically, it hasn't been squished. So what we'll need to do is bring in approximately 9 feet of fill and let it sit for 6 months. So that's going to be our next major item of work that's going to be completed. A Couple things needed to happen before that can occur. If anybody's been out there at the site, there's some energy power poles that are running down the middle of that property. Those poles and those utilities need to be relocated to another location because that's going right down the middle of our site. So we've been working with Energy. There's Cox, and there's Bell South out there. So Energy has moved their facilities out the way. The next utility that needs to be moved out is Bell South. I believe there's some legislation today to grant them a servitude. Once that servitude is granted, then they can go and remove their facilities. Cox is there right after. They shouldn't have any issues. And then after that, those utilities can be removed, and then the surcharge can be installed. And then we're also working on, we're fast-tracking the design and the construction of this, of the construction of the permanent fire station through the use of a CMAR process. And because of that, what we do is we bring in a contractor early on. They're going to work with us, the designers, and as we're progressing along with the design, we'll coordinate with this contractor, working on budget, schedules, thinking of ways to be able to make the construction faster and more economical while still giving the best product for the city of Kenner. So that's kind of a summary of where we're at right now. So yes.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir, for coming in today. I appreciate the information. Obviously, as the mayor said, this has been a concern, particularly since this is in District 1, but this affects the whole city, and particularly the people within District 1, the Susan Park, Veteran Heights subdivision. So I would ask that this presentation that you did today with the facts, schedule, dates, whatever, if you could forward that to me, because I have not done a good job in keeping people up to date on the progress as we move forward. So I like to be able to, on a weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever, to be able to let the residents in our area know. Particularly, we have a new civic organization, the Veteran Heights, and I forget the name, civic organization, but I'm sure Ms. Pastor will correct me. But I want to be able to get that information and share it with the Susan Park and Veteran Heights residents. So from this point forward, if we can stay attached and be able to share information like that, so it won't come after, but before, so people can have an idea of what's going on and to be able to feel comfortable that this is moving forward in the right direction. Yep. So you have my contact information. You know, we've been knowing each other a long time. I appreciate the support. So
Yes,
looking forward for this. And if you could just email that information up till now to my office, and we'll go forward. And we'll talk more about this, and possibly inviting you to a meeting of the new civic organization from the Veteran Heights / Susan Park subdivisions.
I'd be happy to do that, and that goes out to any of the councilmen and women. So yeah, please, my door's always open, my phone's always on, so.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember McKinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo the same thing that Councilman Carroll said. Thank you for coming. Thank you for providing those updates. And if you can forward that information to me, I'd greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Not a problem.
Forward it to everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sound like I didn't want to do the
Councilmember Brennan?
Thank you, Councilman Brannigan. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask Frank, if that could come to all of us. But the temporary trailer is actually going to be on that site, is that correct?
Yes, well, you see right now, there's some limestone, a big area of limestone out there. So yes, that'll be able to house the temporary trailer, which will house the men, and also the fire truck, and also parking for those firemen.
Just to clarify, thank you very much.
Ms. Foshee?
I just wanted to ask Mr. Lang if squished is an engineering term of art.
Very technical.
Some questions that were proposed about adequate coverage really are not within the engineering purview as much as in the fire department purview. So if the mayor doesn't mind, and if you don't mind, Mr. President, if I could call the fire chief up just to give comments about the coverage and the adequacy of the coverage currently, the adequacy of the coverage once the temporary is in, and the adequacy of the coverage once the permanent is in.
That's fine.
And I just As the chief's coming up, if you don't mind, I'd just like to point out that on first reading, 16C and 16E both have to deal with the new fire, well, the property. 16E is the trailer, the temporary trailer for the temporary firehouse that you'll be voting on next council meeting. And now 16C, which you'll be voting on, is the servitude, allowing that servitude to be swapped out. So it does show that we are getting to that point, guys.
Thank you. Fire Chief?
Yeah, as I've been saying for months, where the crews are stationed, where they're positioned, and the changes we've made over the past year, that area was adequately protected according to national standards. Of course, we always wanted to move the station closer, so by bringing it closer, we'll reduce that time and just make our response times naturally a lot shorter, like more responsive to that community. So hopefully we'll have that all that in place in the next couple of months. And also, like Mr. Lang said, we are working on the traffic signal issue because, as everybody knows, that's a major intersection right now with all the traffic lights and all the traffic that's going to the airport, the new airport over there, the new terminal. So we needed that traffic control, so when our fire truck is rolling, it will turn all the lights green for us so we can clear the traffic out of the way prior to us getting to those intersections to further reduce our response time in Veterans Heights community on that side of veterans.
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is just, I just want to make a caveat to Mr. Lang. When you send in information, particularly for me, if you could send it in councilmatic terminology so I can understand, not engineering terminology, as best as you can. If I can't, I will give you a call to ask you if I can't get it, you know. And also, one of the comments from the mayor, I wanted to thank the administration, particularly the code department, Mr. Muhammad, because some of the things that came up from the Veteran Heights Civic Association meeting that I want to thank Councilwoman McKinney for coming, is about the code, about the ability to have a code sweep from Banbridge all the way to the parish line. I think as these are done and are put into concert, we will be able to cover all of that area. So thanks again for Director Muhammad, all the men and women of the code department, and as we look forward going in the future, because people, you know, I know the mayor said it's a lot, but it's good that we're identifying it, and eventually it will shrink down, and we will have left to talk about. So we look forward to working with you guys and everyone else in the future. So thanks again, and thanks on behalf of the Civic Association. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember McKinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to ask, I know you said that the temporary fire station will be in service in the next couple of months. Do we have an estimated date?
No, not the next couple of months. I'm hoping, my wish is that it'll be here now.
Now, okay.
But no, my plan is to have it fully functional by the middle of February.
Middle of February? Great. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
Chief, just one question to follow on that. The temporary trailer and such, as Mr. Lang said, that property will be surcharged or squished. What will happen with that trailer? Will there be, will it just be moved on that site to still accommodate a temporary location? Or?
No, well, if you drive over to that area, we've already put the limestone and substrates in and compacted that area where the trailer and the fire truck, to support the weight of the fire truck, which is a lot heavier than the house trailer, if you believe it or not. But it's designed to support the weight of all those apparatus, so we don't have any problems with it while it's there until the permanent station is being erected.
So even when this mud is brought in, that will still be there and not
right
where the limestone is now?
Right, that's where the temporary structures are going, the house, the crew, and the fire truck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilmot?
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, I just had a question. You referred to this as a temporary, this is no longer, or it is a temporary station, and it's going to be fully functional. What areas is that going to encompass?
It's on the same plot of land that the permanent station is right, right adjacent to the footprint of the permanent station. So it's effectively where the permanent station is located. It's just off to the side of where the permanent station is being built.
So what subdivisions does this include? Do you have any?
It's off of Loyola, it's on Loyola at Duke and Clemson.
So it's going to impact Lincoln Manor University and those areas right there, correct?
Right. It's approximately 4 blocks from where the old station, the station that was removed for the overpass to the interstate.
And how many?
It's 4 blocks away from where the old station was.
How many men are going to be stationed here?
It'll be a full crew of 4 to 5 men.
Okay. All right, and they'll be on call to handle calls 24/7?
Yes, sir. Just like, it's basically housing for the members. Has all the same communications and electronic equipment that a regular fire station would have. We just call it a temporary fire station because that's what it is, but it's designed for permanent housing.
Okay, and as far as the fire truck itself, it's just one fire truck, and which one would that be? Do we know?
That would be the same one that was relocated from the old fire station at 38 on Loyola.
Thank you,
So
Chief, for
it's
that.
the same fire truck, it's just moving to the new site.
Thank you for that information, Chief. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
right,
Mayor
thank you.
Zahn,
That's it, Council President.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, that will conclude the consent agenda this morning. Have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney on the consent. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is summary ordinance number 12,651, an ordinance amending Chapter 13, Article 2 of the Kenner City Code of Ordinances concerning parades and to provide related matters.
I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember McKinney. Council members, to open a public hearing.
Yes. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 6-0 to open your public hearing. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public wishing to come up forward and address? Seeing none? If you'd like to speak, could you please come to the microphone? Please state your name and address for the record.
Pastor Jackie Brown Cockerham, 2610 Decatur Street, Apartment A. Are we addressing 9A, or can I go back to the fire department? Because that's what I wanted to address, but I did not.
We
The
are
mayor
on,
saying no?
we're on 9A now.
Okay, but what I'm asking is because I didn't hear the floor open for anyone who wanted to address public hearing. So tell me how it's done.
Well, that,
Immediately after the individual speaks or the motion comes up? then
Pastor,
you
it was part of the mayor's comments.
Okay.
So you will be able to comment on that in section 17.
Okay, good, as long as I know. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Zhang.
Seeing no one else, have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 6-0.
Yeah.
I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to put the motion on the floor for approval.
Don't we have an amendment?
Yes, yes, sir. At this time, I'd like to read an amendment into the record. It's kind of lengthy, so give me a moment, please. At the request of the city attorney's office, under section 13-24, we will add the words, "The mayor may issue standards and regulations in concert with this article to keep parades efficient and safe." Under section 13-26, we will remove the word "issue" and insert the word "approve." Under section 13-30, we will delete section E in its entirety, and we will have Section E to read as following. Each parade organization shall maintain at its expense general liability insurance in the amount of $1 million per occurrence for bodily injury and property damage with a $3 million aggregate and auto liability insurance combined single limit of $3 million or equivalent. A parade organization may, at its expense, opt to purchase a special event insurance policy appropriately endorsed to provide the required coverage. The City of Kenner, its elected and appointed officials, agents, directors, servants, employees, and volunteers shall be named as an additional insured to the liability policy issued to each float or truck parade organization. A parade permit shall not be issued without receipt from the insurer and its agent of record of a bona fide certificate of insurance as required by this section. Each insurance company providing this specified coverage shall have an AM Best B rating or higher. We will also insert a new Section G to read as follows. To the fullest extent permitted by law, each parade organization agrees to protect, defend, indemnify, and save the city as its agents, officials, employees, servants, including volunteers, or any firm, company, organization, or individual, or their contractors or subcontractors with whom the city may be contracted harmless from and against any and all claims, demands, loss or destruction of property, actions and causes of action of every kind and character, including but not limited to claims based on negligence, strict liability, and absolute liability which may rise in favor of any person or persons on account of illness, disease, loss of property, services, death, or personal injuries resulting from any parade activity by the organization, regardless whether others may be wholly, concurrently, partially, or solely negligent, or strictly liable, or absolutely liable, or otherwise at fault, and regardless of any defect in the premises, equipment, or materials, irrespective of whether same pre-existed this agreement except damages arising out of injuries or property claims by third parties caused by the sole, wanton, or intentional negligence of the city, its employees, or agents. We will renumber Section 13-33 to Section 13-32. And that will conclude your amendment this morning. If I could get a motion and a second on the amendment.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by McKinney.
On the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment?
Councilmember Wilmot.
If you could, Madam Clerk, could you discuss or mention the specific liability amounts again?
Yes, I will be glad to. That would be $1 million per occurrence for bodily injury and property damage with a $3 million aggregate and auto liability insurance, combined single limit of $3 million or equivalent.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Clerk, you may have said it, I may have missed it, but in Section 1330E, where it says, we have to give us a 15-day notice, will there be a penalty applied if we do not receive? And I guess I'm asking the attorneys about that. And if so, how much will that be? Will it be case by case?
All right, so I'll put on my second hat as overseeing Mardi Gras as well. So no, there will be no penalties initially for this. This is just rules for the organizations if they want to continue to do business in the city of Kenner or host a parade. So these are their regulations and rules that they must follow by.
So, and I guess this is to an attorney. Are we allowed to assess a citation or a fee if a person doesn't give us it just doesn't say anything, and we're putting forward funds and resources and they don't tell us? Are we able to?
Permit then at that point to go forward. There would be no, until we have these documents and the documents in the proper order, they would never get their permit to parade.
Okay. So the 15-day window is,
Let me make sure I'm at
yeah, number E at, towards the bottom where it says certificate shall blah, 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 blah. The 15-day notice of cancellation. So if they don't notify us within the 15-day window,
No, that's a cancellation of the insurance, so we.
Oh,
that
just
puts
the
city
insurance.
On notice, that requires the insurance company to give the city 15 days' notice before a cancellation of the policy. If that were to happen, then either we would not have issued the permit, or we would have the ability to withdraw the
gotcha.
permit.
Understand. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, we have no other discussion. We have a motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman McKinney to adopt the amendment.
On the amendment, yes, sir. On the amendment, please, as read by the clerk. Please vote. Motion passes 6-0. On your motion to approve as amended,
Have a motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilmember McKinney. Council members, please vote.
motion passes 6-0 to approve as amended. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members.
Have a motion.
Item 13A is a resolution ratifying the appointment of Kentonopolis to the City of Kenner Civil Service Board in accordance with Section 8.02A7 of the Charter of the City of Kenner. I have a motion by Councilmember.
Go ahead.
I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember, do I have a second? Councilmember Carroll for approval. Councilmember Wilmot, did you want to speak? No?
Yes. I'd just like to add on this appointment, Mr. Donopoulos is well qualified. He understands public service and the limitations of getting involved in the politics if this is approved. He served on this body for 10 years as a councilman, 2 terms and a little bit more, just shy of 10 years. What knowledge this man has. And quite frankly, if he's appointed, he would hit the ground running, and I think he would do an admirable job. And if Mr. Donopoulos, I see he is here today in the audience. I don't know if you care to come up and make comment, but you're more than welcome. It's up to you. I think you're known by this body, but just the same, if you'd like to make comment.
Kentonopolis, 40 Acadia Street, Kenner, Louisiana. I'm in Councilman Brannigan district. Pretty much, if you want to know a little bit about my background, and I moved to Kenner when I was about 21 years old. That's when I purchased my first house. During that time, I started the Westwood Heights Civic Association at that time. A few years later, I moved to Platt Street, bought a home there, raised a family, coached for 15 years at the Wood Lake Playground. Also was an officer of the Seton Park Civic Association. At that time also, I started an organization called the West Pontchartrain Park Foundation. I think y'all are familiar with that. That's the foundation that urged the city to buy the Kenner City Park, the land from Henry Shane at that time. Then I moved on to Seton Park, and then now I reside in Wood Lake. I've purchased 4 houses here in Kenner. I've raised my family. I've lived here for 40 years. I've served as a councilman for 10 years. I'm on a couple of boards in the city of New Orleans and also here in Kenner as well, some businesses that I own. I'm enjoying my life here in Kenner, and I have some time that I can devote to, if elected to this board to continue to serve the city of Kenner.
And you were appointed by Tulane University, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, which is a great honor. And I thank you for all that you've done in the past as far as being a member of this council. You had a long service, and thank you. Public life is not easy. And also stepping up to the plate for this and being here today. So I thank you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, and like you had said earlier, I kind of understand both sides. I understand the city charter and the rules and regulations. I understand that the process by which I've attended several civil service boards over the past several years. I've seen how they transcend through the process, and it's hopefully something that I can serve not only the city correctly, but also the employees correctly here in the city of Kenner.
During your tenure on the council, wasn't there some major changes to the Civil Service Board?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did. We had a lot of legislation through those years. I co-authored and authored some of that legislation, both amendments and original ordinances as well. Pretty familiar with it. We had several meetings with key people who knew how to set up and structure civil service boards through those meetings. You learn a lot. And of course, I still have a lot to learn as well, but I have a background in it, and I think I can serve the city well with it.
Yeah, and I think what you described just now, a lot of people don't have. So I think it's a great asset, and again, I think you would be a great appointment, and I thank you for coming in today. And I certainly hope my colleagues do support this.
Appreciate it.
That's all I have.
Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember McKinney?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Council President. Excuse me. I guess my only question, and I don't know if my colleagues share this, but my concern is that the Kenner Civil Service Board was created by special election in 2006 to explicitly separate politics and the function of city government. So to remain non-political and to separate that functionality out. And obviously, as the appointment of former Councilman Dinopoulos, to me that, he's been heavily involved in politics, and he has been, very, like he said, he was actually integral in the creation of the board, so he is familiar with it. But also that, to me, is also mixing politics in with the board, and to have a former politician, regardless of, if any of us up here would want to serve on the board, or if any of, any former elected officials would want to serve on the board, I'd be against that as well, because I feel like the express purpose of the Civil Service Board is to take politics out of government, and this appointment, I feel, puts the politics back in. So I'm going to be voting, not supporting this, and not based on, his experience, but based on, I feel like this compromises the integrity of the Civil Service Board in a way that, and I know that they, it explicitly says that they can't participate in political activities, but it's better for us and for us as a body to remain, not even put them into a position like that. So I'm going to be not supporting that. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Councilmember Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'd like to thank Councilwoman McKinney for her thoughts, and that's what we want to talk about, and I appreciate her comments and concerns. And it is good to let everybody know how you feel, how you think it may affect us as a body. I will be supporting it because, the reality is, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm hard-pressed to think of any one organization in the world that is not affected by quote-unquote politics. Any one organization is not affected by the individuals who are in that group, their personal political position. And that's where we are as a country, that to be able to have that dynamic, but to also instill rules and laws that will hold us from doing that. When that is crossed, then we should address that. But to hold that against Councilman Denopoulos because of he was once a former council person, I think would not be fair to him or to the people of the city of Kenner that would miss out on his experience. So I will be supporting it. I understand, he understands how things go. It's literally impossible not for politics, for people to talk, to give their opinion. So that is something that is presently going on now, and we will have to deal with forever. So that being said, I will be supporting, and I appreciate everybody else's support for it also. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a question from our city attorney regarding, it was mentioned previously that there could be some type of compromise on the Civil Service Board if you have an elected official, former elected official serve on that board. That was mentioned previously by one of my colleagues. I just wanted to ask your opinion. What happens in the event that somebody gets involved in politics who's on a Civil Service Board? What kind of repercussions do they have?
Councilman, I'm looking up the rules at the moment. The members of the Civil Service Board are held to the same standard, I believe, as any civil service employee would be, which is that they are prohibited from any political activity. Further, our handbook, or the city's handbook, which applies to members of boards and commissions, says that anyone who qualifies for an elected office, they lose their position at that point.
So they would lose their position. Is there any ethical issues that are involved with the state or anything?
That I don't know off the top of my head, Councilman.
Okay, but there are repercussions. They would lose their spot at minimum.
That's correct.
Okay. And so I think that's understood by all people who become a part of the Civil Service Board. I think that's pretty clear and obvious. Do you agree?
I would hope so.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate your information. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Councilmember McKinney.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And I just want to clarify that, in terms of this conflict, I think it's specific only to the Civil Service Board. I don't think if he was serving, nominated or serving any other board within the city, I personally would have an issue with it. I just think that it's better to be safe than sorry in this instance. Thank you.
Seeing none, no further discussion?
Mr. Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 48 years. Councilwoman McKinney, your comments are well taken. I would like to address this to the city attorney. Are there any provisions that would disqualify a person from serving on that Civil Service Board?
There are no specific provisions as to disqualifications. The person's nominees come from different, either universities or the Jefferson Bar Association. There are, listed in the charter, there are reasons to be removed, but there is no specific listing of qualifications.
So the board can remove, the board has the authority to remove another member? Who has that authority for removal?
No, sir. A member of the Civil Service Board may be removed by the Kenner City Council for cause.
Gotcha.
After being supplied with written specifications of the charges.
Okay, thank you. One other point I want to make. You have people in the past on different boards have been appointed because of who they know as opposed to what they know, even though they did not serve on this council or any elected capacity in this government. So as far as I'm concerned, there isn't any difference from someone who served prior on this council as opposed to someone who was appointed to that board because of who they know as opposed to what they know. So I support Kent being appointed to this board, and if he don't do the job, and I come to some of those board meetings, not board meetings, but I come to those hearings when it involves one of our employees, and I guarantee you, if I feel that somebody up there is not doing their job, you can count on it to be an issue at this podium. So that's all I have to say. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Teff?
My name is Greg Taft, 3720 West Leola Drive. While I may say that I understand the position for the political situation, but I don't know of anybody in any position anywhere that is not somewhat political. Here's what I can say, and this is from a personal point of view. Mr. DeNapolis was my daughter's coach. And part of what he taught my daughter was integrity and how to be a team player. And she grew up just fine. My point is that he was part at some time in the history when civil service was coming about because of the abuse of employees by the city of Kenner, and made those amendments so that he did protect the employees. And my feeling is, if he works on the Civil Service Board as well as he did when he was coaching, and his position on protecting the employees, I don't see that as being political. I see that as doing what the job is supposed to do. Hear it, protect it, and decipher the true information and get to the bottom of it. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teff.
Council members, please vote. Motion fails 2-4. Council members Brennan, Hayes, Brannigan, and McKinney opposed. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,653. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive proposal from Presidential AC and Heating to furnish and install a 3-ton wall-mounted evaporator coil cassette air-conditioned unit, condenser, and associated hardware in an amount not to exceed $6,900 for the Kenner Police Department.
You have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,654. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Eurotech USA Incorporated to provide pavement lifting on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 19-6520 and an amount not to exceed $30,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
You have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, second by Councilmember Brennan. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,655. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from National Polyfab Company to supply mesh, roll wire, rebar, metal keyway, and chairs on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 19-6519 and an amount not to exceed $30,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
You have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,656, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Jack B. Harper Electrical LLC to provide vehicle detector inductor loops on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 19-6516 and an amount not to exceed $70,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
You have a motion by Councilmember Hayes, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,657, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Fleming Construction Company LLC in the amount of $264,548.25 for the relocation of sewer line at Lot L1 Airline Drive, Public Works Project Number 2018-14-SW, in accordance with sealed bid number 19-6513 for the Department of Public Works.
We have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15F is in summary ordinance number 12,658. An ordinance approving amendment number 2 to the agreement with Digital Engineering and Imaging Incorporated regarding lift station sub-basin collection area assessments to increase the not-to-exceed contract amount by $79,000 for the Department of Public Works.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Hayes. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 12,659. An ordinance ratifying an emergency purchase of the Waste Information Management Solution, WIMS, software for HACH for the wastewater plant transition and the amount of $10,996.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Brennan. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 12,660. An ordinance approving the use of state contract number 4400014555 and a financing agreement with Motorola Solutions Incorporated for the purchase of portable radios for a cost not to exceed $215,298.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hayes, second by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15I is summary ordinance number 12,661. An ordinance approving amendment number 1 to the contract between the City of Kenner and Ramelli Janitorial Service Incorporated for garbage collection and recycling services. At the request of the mayor, he would like to request a 2-meeting deferral on this issue. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan for 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote. One more vote. Motion passes 6-0 for 2-meeting deferral. Item 15J is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement with BLD Services LLC dated March 22nd, 2019 to provide preventative maintenance of existing sanitary and storm sewers, including service laterals at various locations in Kenner on an as-needed basis in accordance with sealed bid number 18-6446, which increases the not-to-exceed amount by $200,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
We have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15K is a resolution approving change order number 1, final to the construction agreement with Bucktown Contractors and Company dated March 29, 2019 regarding the West Esplanade Avenue Canal Crossing Project. Public Works Project number 2018-001-RB, increasing the contract amount by $15,971.91, extending the contract time by 49 calendar days, and accepting the project as substantially complete for the Department of Public Works.
A motion by Councilmember Brannigan, second by Councilmember Brennan. Council members, please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A, a first amendment to the general bond ordinance described herein, which authorized the issuance from time to time of sales tax bonds of the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 16B, a second supplemental bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $9,500,000 of taxable sales tax bonds, Series 2020, of the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, in accordance with the terms of a general bond ordinance prescribing the form and certain terms and conditions of said bonds, providing for the sale of said bonds to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 16C is an ordinance granting a servitude to Bell South Telecommunications, LLC, a Georgia limited liability company doing business as AT&T Louisiana, for the installation of buried telecom cables and facilities measuring 10 feet wide from Duke Drive to Clemson Drive, located parallel to the west side of Lot 6 and Lot 18, and 5 feet parallel to Duke Drive, also known as shown on survey by BFM Corporation LLC, number 10082, dated November 12, 2019. Item 16 is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid from Total Electronic Systems Incorporated to furnish and install cameras at Kenner City Park in accordance with letter bid number 19-1591 and an amount not to exceed $27,933.61 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Victory Home Center to purchase a house trailer in accordance with sealed bid number 19-6525 and an amount not to exceed $36,995 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 16F is an ordinance ratifying the emergency repair of the existing apparatus door at Fire Station 379 in an amount not to exceed $5,440 by minor for the Kenner Fire Department. Item 16G is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Fleming Construction Company, LLC, to provide concrete street maintenance and small jobs on an as-needed basis in accordance with sealed bid number 19-6518 and an amount not to exceed $1,400,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to say that on January the 20th of 2020, I was honored and proud to be part of the Dr. Martin Luther King celebration that commemorated his life and legacy. I say proud because as the city of Kenner, it was our 36th year from the inception of the holiday, and many municipalities cannot say that. So for us to be able to say that 36 years ago that we thought it was important, and today we still believe that is important, I'm glad to be part of that and look forward to, as long as I'm able to support that, because I think it is important. You know, regardless of your personal opinion about Dr. Martin Luther King, whether it positive or not positive, because nobody is perfect, none of us are perfect. His legacy and the event, the recognition is for his, you know, his about his life and his persistence for equality, for fairness, for life, liberty, and for the pursuit of happiness for everyone. That is what it is about, for everyone, not one particular race or denomination. That is what this day is honored for, and for people around the world, because particularly from the time that Dr. King was in the middle of the movement for the city of Kenner, for the United States, for the world, it was a time during that time that things were not fair for everyone, all races, all genders. So he took that mantle and was the point person. Not that he did it by himself, because there was a number of races, genders, and everyone that supported him, but it fell upon him to be the spokesperson, like we all have spokespeople to address certain issues. So I am proud to be part of that, and it's something that we all should be part of, to be able to make things better, not only for us, but for our children's children as we move through this hectic world and all of the things that are being placed on our plate for today. So, you know, thanks for the city for doing that. But as always, there are a number of people who participate with this that I would like to thank. I actually wrote them down this year, so I would not forget anyone. So if you can bear with me for a couple of minutes, I would like to thank them personally. For the vendors, Mr. Lionel James from the voters registration, from Ms. Alicia Hammond for Resource for Living Independence, Ms. Essie Kennerson, Inclusive Care Clinic, Mr. Tim Burke from Total Benefits, the Kenner Volunteer Fire Department, Ms. Pamela Anderson with the Hollywood Flowers, Richard and Mary Reams from the Reams Trophy, Ms. Ashley Herod from the Census Bureau. So as you can see, we had a wealth and an array of different groups out there participating. We had certain performers, Miss Linda Wright, Minister Linda Wright, 7 a.m. Community Group, the Lee Sisters from Rising Star Baptist Church, Pastor Brittany Allen, who was our main speaker from Destiny Christian Center, Sister Deborah Thomas from Pilgrim Baptist Church, the Bonneville High School Band, Dance, and Stump Team, the law offices of Miss Jahida Lewis Crawford, Esquire, and mentees, Mr. Ralph J. Bunch Elementary Dance School, the Corinthians Lodge, which is a Mason Lodge number 228, and a number of people who help with the coordination to make sure that we are on time, we are timely, we are professional, and we present aspects of it that depicts all of our community. Ms. Pamela Roach, Attorney Esquire Tamithia Shaw, Sharon Thomas, Kelly Harper, and Eliza Carroll. From the departments from the city of Kenner, because obviously for us to command a state highway, we could not just get out there and walk without the support of other organizations to set up. General Services, who are always supportive, the Kenner Police Department, the Kenner Volunteer Department, the Community Development Department, Mr. Bob Ross, who came out and captured it for history for the next 50 years. We'll be able to show what happened in 2020. We thank him also. And last but obviously not least, some of the elected officials that participated, one being my friend and colleague, Mr. Tom Wilmot, for coming out there, Constable Charles Wilson, Justice of the Peace, Mr. Roscoe Lewis, Judge Mark Johnson, Judge June Daringsburg, former councilwomen Wilma Irving and Sharon Aguilard, Councilman newly elected from District 3, Byron Lee, and Mr. Steve LaChute, hope I'm not saying his name right, from President Cynthia Lee Chang's office. So for everyone that came out, for everyone that, if you were not able to come out, if you were able to have a thought or did something as to commemorate that day, we thank you. The city of Kenner, thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again next year. God say the same. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember McKinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to give a shout out to Lake Town Village resident, Mr. Joe Rain. He was recently selected by his fellow residents as the ambassador to the city council. As you know, he's been attending the council meetings for probably at least the last 6 months. He's an LSU graduate, former LSU graduate, go Tigers, as well as a former energy employee. And I just wanted to give him the opportunity just to introduce himself as well.
Government has always interested me. I grew up and was guided by my father, who worked for this oil company, and he talked about electricity, and he was sort of guiding me toward. I didn't know what I was going to study at LSU. He had made up his mind I was going to college. Well, anyway, I decided on electrical engineering. From about that point on, he commented one day, "You should have been a lawyer. You talk so darn much." For a fellow who cussed, darn is a small word. Yeah. So I appreciate that. I like meetings of this type to find out how government is doing and what happens. How did it all come about? So they're going to call me liaison here. I think I've made just about every liaison for the last couple, since Reagan introduced that, starting that activity.
He's been to everyday meetings, so
Yeah.
he's glad y'all have them.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That will conclude the reports from the council. At this time, I'd like to entertain a request to change the order of business, if we could, please. We'd like to change the order of business to take item 20 at this juncture in the meeting. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Ben-Kenny, to change the order of business. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
First person is Greg Teft. Please state your name, your address. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive in Kenner. The only thing I want to do is bring y'all, or let y'all know that on the vote on the civil service for Mr. Denopoulos is very disturbing. You had someone that would listen and would fight and make sure that the employees are treated properly. For those of you that may not have been around when it was a problem with civil service, because our employees were being so abused that we had to develop civil service to protect them, I cannot believe that y'all wouldn't bring someone that has already shown that they would look out for the employees and look out for the city. He's already proven he'll take care of the city. And we're going to use a political basis to shut him out. I just want y'all to know, it was very disappointing because our employees deserve better. I don't care what anybody says, our employees deserve better. They're the ones that get the job done. They're the ones that's out there when it's raining, when it's cold. They're the ones that's doing the labor. And the city and the employees that work within the council offices, they used to be abused terribly bad. Now they're not. They're treated right. And what are we going to do when we finally get someone that could probably level the field, and that knows how to listen, knows how to make the right judgment, and will not buckle down to the politics? That's what you're afraid of. He won't buckle down to politics. It's very, very upsetting. Thank you.
Reagan? She left.
Oh, she just spoke, yes.
Al Morella?
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 48 years. I want to express my appreciation to the mayor, Tom Schreiner with the Public Works Department, Councilman Brennan, 5th District, for restarting a project that began over 10 years ago concerning curbing on East Loyola and West Loyola Drive. And hopefully we can get this project, after all these years, bring it to a completion. Now, I want to talk about 13A, reiterating what Mr. Teff just had to say. Only thing, I'm going to go a step further. Councilwoman McKinney, you expressed your opinion, your comments concerning politics, and I appreciate your concerns. However, the very politics that you expressed your concerns about, I believe was played in keeping Kentonopoulos off that civil service board. And next thing I want to talk about, Kenner Housing Authority. As you know, told me at the last at the last Housing Authority meeting, they've been meeting with the administration and council members concerning redevelopment of the Glenwood Apartments. They're going to come down here, according to them saying, they said they're going to come down here in April and give a presentation. And they've done, just to bring y'all up to date, they have done some environmental inspections on the building. And they said that the inspections came out okay. But they haven't done any inspection yet on the soil. And I'm going to continue to push them on that. But they did say, I saw the mayor shaking his head, they did say that they had met with some people down here in the administration and the council. That's not accurate, Mayor? That's what they said at the last meeting.
Councilman?
Go ahead.
It's a very broad statement. So they have met with some directors, such as Timothy Shaw, probably code enforcement, maybe James Mohammed. That I just want the public to know, when you say the administration, it's the directors of those departments of the administration, not me, not my two top people, not our legal department, to my knowledge. If they met with the council, I have no knowledge of that. The council's able to meet with whoever they want to meet with, but they have not met with me or the top part of the administration, probably directors of the administration, just for clarity.
Right. Thank you, Mayor, because all they said was administration. That's what they said. And the directors are part of the administration. So partially right on that. But thanks for the clarification anyway. Okay? Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morello. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Morell, I will just go on the record and say that I have not spoken to anyone there, but obviously, because it is in District 1, I look forward to the conversations as we start from the, from the samples or the soil samples to the actual structure of it. So I look forward to having those conversations. And once I start, I will personally let you know about how we're going to be proceeding, along with the Lincoln Manor subdivision.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Can I respond real quick, Councilman Brannigan? Real quick.
10 seconds.
Okay, I attend those meetings too, Councilman Carroll. Anything I can bring to enlighten y'all on, I'll be glad to do it. Thank you. And I'm going to continue to push them for them soil samples. That's very important that we get that done. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Pastor Jackie Brown Cockerham.
Good morning. Pastor Jackie Brown, Cockerham, 2610 Decatur Street. My concern, of course, is the fire station. And I know that we've had a lot of information from Mr. Lane about the fire station and where it's to be temporarily housed at Clemson and Duke Street. However, that does not help the situation for Veteran Heights subdivision or Susan Park subdivision. We're on the south side of I-10. And there is no available fire station or service that we're going to get in case of an emergency. The fire chief previously named the time that it took to get to the last fire we had. And according to some of the residents there, that time was a lot longer than it was. It was stated. I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I'm just sharing with what the residents are saying. And unfortunately, it's good to have a fire station, but we need one in the Veteran Heights, Susan Park area, not Clemson or Duke. And I know that's where it's going, but we need something even temporary for the south side of I-10. And I would appreciate if someone would respond to that. Also, we have a lot of code sweeps in District 1. And they apply it basically to the residents. But I've toured the entire district, the entire city, and I see where the businesses are not dealing with what the residents are dealing with. And how are those violations given? Are they only to the tenants or the residents, or are the landlords receiving some of these citations along with the tenants? So I'd like to have a response to that.
Council President, if you could let Chief Terrence Morris come up and respond to that.
Okay.
And the next question was about, I'm sorry, what was it?
The suite for businesses.
Code, we'll let
suites.
Yeah.
We'll let Mr. Mohammed address that.
Okay.
Terrence?
Jackie. Yes, as I said many times in the past, Reverend Cockerham, that area is, even where the station is now, adequately protected as far as response times and stuff like that. And I've addressed your concerns in the past that we, you know, everybody would like to have a fire station there, but logistically and financially it's not feasible. But we are adequately protected where we are and where we are going right now. Although it's not in your neighborhood, it's right outside, and we are making arrangements to readily respond to that area. So I don't know what else I can say to make you more comfortable, other than that I'm putting a fire station directly in the neighborhood. I can't say that.
Are there any sites, property sites owned by Kidder that could put a station on the south side? Because in heavy traffic or whatever, you will still have a problem getting to us.
No, as I said, the system that we're putting in place, that once the apparatus, once the fire truck receives notification that we are responding to a call over there in that particular area, because we still cover parts of the other side, it turns all the lights green. So all the traffic clears out for us, hopefully. They don't move out the way most of the time anyway, but hopefully they move out the way and clear out the way, and we have a clear path.
So there's still doubt? Because
No, it's no
there's
doubt. It's
still
just the nature of drivers in this area. And over the years that I've been doing this, it's hard to get just under normal circumstances to get people to move. But with turning that whole stretch of lights green, any traffic should clear that entire stretch from where the station at Duke and Loyola all the way to Veterans. All those lights are turned green for the fire apparatus.
I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but just as a driver, even if the lights turn green and the traffic is congested, the vehicles can't move.
So
So they're still stuck.
Pastor, your 3 minutes is over.
Pardon me?
I see your 3 minutes has expired.
Well, I guess so if he's talking during the,
I'm sorry.
I guess you had the clock still going.
No, I stopped the clock.
Okay, well, I'm responding to what he said. And I'm still having doubt about the position because it's still in an area where
Why,
fire trucks.
why don't you guys get together right after the meeting and talk, please?
I've met with her several times.
Okay.
In my office.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I
my
still don't
doors.
have any resolution on it or consideration. Code? Yes.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Chief also. You know, not to rehash any of the things, everybody know our positions on the original legislation for this. But Pastor, I will say that, you know, now the focus for me right now, the priority, I guess, is to ensure that the present location for the fires is put in place, and we have that. Not to say we're going to walk away from trying to improve and make it better, because I think that should always be our responsibility to make it better. Now, hopefully, there's nothing that will precede that in a bad way to do that, but I think it is something, and your point's taken valid, about looking at other things that we can do to offer support, because I think there have been support like that around the city before. So that is something also my communication with the administration, with the chief, will continue, and along with the citizens of the Lincoln Manor, Veteran Heights, and Susan Park subdivisions. So I just want to say that, and obviously we'll be talking many times after this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, and Pastor, yesterday I had to bring my stepdaughter to the airport at 5:25 and went through there. It took me to get from my house to drop her off 12 minutes. And I live all the way in North Kenner. And so went right down Loyola and flew right through those lights. So
Green lights.
No, green lights, green lights.
You flew through the green lights,
So
not, you
I
didn't.
think that once the fire department
better.
has the ability to change those lights greens, you will not have a problem. Okay.
I think he said he had his light on. I didn't know y'all had those.
Mr. Mohammed?
Ms. Cockerham, I knocked at your door at 7:30 one morning, and you asked me to come back. Unfortunately, I had a busy day that day, but, you know, we're actively involved in your neighborhood. We don't talk about all the things that we do. When we get complaints, we go out, we'll sweep a whole street. Just right off the top of my head, Gadsden, Marietta, Helena, the corridor on 27th Street, we've hit that area numerous times. Sometimes those don't get reported to the mayor, but that, and you of all people who have my phone number should call me if you got a complaint. If you see something, you know we're proactive. But we can only see so much. But if you got a problem, you pick up the phone and call me. You got my phone number. I knock at your door. I'll bring you a donut. Call me.
Well, you of all people should know that, yes, I have your number, and I have called you, but when residents are concerned, and it comes up before I call you, I will address it here. So I appreciate your response.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to comment also about Pastor's comment or concerns about the businesses. And, you know, particularly for District 1, I can attest that yes, because I, on a regular basis, will call Director Muhammad to tell him about businesses. And some of the businesses call me back directly, and I rarely do I call them out about certain things, but we work it out. But yes, the businesses all along the main thoroughfare. So now I think since we are going to be increasing the visibility, the attention to Veteran Heights, that will increase also, because it is all part of making the community better. But the question is, yes, they do get cited, they do get fined, they have to address cleaning up, not only from debris, but smells that they may, put out into the community. So we will be keeping up with all of that also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Residents.
And I forgot to mention Fire Chief Morris. He also led us in the pledge at the MLK. I apologize, Chief, but thank you for the support.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Yes, and I have had residents who've actually gone to businesses, and they're like getting in trouble with those business owners, and that's why I addressed it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Richard Brown?
Thank you, Mr. President. Richard Brown, Sessions Lane in Kenner. First off, on a positive note, I want to thank the fire chief and others involved in, number one, moving forward with the temporary fire station. It's been over a year since we bought that property. It's about time. I'm glad to see it happening. I'm glad to see progress being made on putting the permanent fire station there. I'm also very happy to hear about the system to turn the traffic lights green, because that was a major concern we had with putting the fire station there. We still think it should be south of I-10. We agree with the Reverend and with the others. We still think the fire station should be south of I-10, but it's not. But I like what I heard tonight about moving forward and the system with the traffic lights. Now, on a not so positive note, I think what happened tonight regarding the appointment of Kent Danapolis to the Civil Service Board is a disgrace. And I really think some council members ought to be ashamed of yourselves. I don't know what happened, but I've known Kent Danapolis for probably about 20 years. I know he was one of the ones responsible for bringing civil service to the city of Kenner. I know how much he believes in it. He's not involved in politics now. I haven't heard that in fact, he hasn't been since he left the council. I haven't heard any talk about him wanting to be. You know, Christie, I think if you had a concern about that when he was here, he could have been asked, or he could have been called. What are your plans? Do you plan to have any involvement in politics? Do you promise you won't have anything to do with any races, that you'll stay out of it? You could have asked him that. Every one of y'all could. I know, Christie, his ex-wife, ran against your father for the school board and defeated him several years ago. I know that was a contentious race. I hope that had nothing to do with it. I know, Councilman Brennan, that you ran against Kent Danapolis for the council and he defeated you. I hope that's not a factor. I don't know why, Mr. Hayes, you and George Brannigan, why the two of you voted no. When I talked to you last night, George, you didn't give me any idea that you had any problem with this appointment. You told me, as I already knew, that some council members did. You didn't express any reservations with it. I think y'all just denied this appointment to the perfect candidate for the position. He knows the workings of the city of Kenner well. I think he would have been an ideal appointment. I'm really disappointed.
Councilmember McKinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Brown, I just want to clear up any the comments that you said. I don't have any problem, as my comments earlier, I don't have a problem with Mr. Danapolis. I don't have a problem with anyone who, with his appointment specifically. I spoke about it in general. I do not believe that the Civil Service Board should have a former politician on the board, because that, to me, could, and it doesn't matter if he's running in the future, the fact that he served and was political in the past leads me to, believe that he has other associations and other motives, and that, like I said in my earlier comments, that would be the same for every single one of us up here, the former mayor or anyone else. So I just want to clear the air for that, and I don't appreciate those type of comments and insinuating that I would do that to be, to be political, because I believe and pride myself on being, not being like that and not doing that, and I really, truly, I think I'm doing it for the best of the Kenner employees. So thank you.
Councilmember Brennan?
Thank you, Council Chair. Mr. Brown, the only comment I'm going to make is that I did speak with Mr. Danapolis. He lives less than 5 minutes from me. I will ride my bike through Wood Lake. We speak every time I see him. He's very cordial. The relationship is as amicable as with any other neighbor. So the 2010 race had absolutely nothing to do with us. So just to clear and make that comment. Thank you.
Mayor Zahn? That was from long ago.
Yeah, a while back. I think what we just heard is exactly why you were probably doing what you did, to keep politics out of it. And when you hear someone come up here and accuse you all, which, let me say this, a member of my administration has been accused already of things like this by Mr. Brown. So to have someone come up and again say things political and accuse two council members, one of which actually stated what your issue was, Christie, I think it's insulting to this council as a whole. And even Tom and Greg should be insulted by that your colleagues are insulted, that they're bringing up past politics. And look, this is not my business, but y'all are all my friends. And to see, 2 or 3 friends, 4 friends attacked, it's just ridiculous. But like I said, it's not the first time Mr. Brown has done that, because obviously, like I said, a member of my administration has been accused by Mr. Brown in the past. So you're not alone, but I think the position about politics is what we just saw just happen. So I just wanted to express my point of view on it and tell y'all that You're not alone with that.
Mayor Zahn, I did not accuse anybody in your administration of doing anything, and you know that. We approached you with a
You
process.
can gavel. You need to gavel. Point of order.
I'm insulted by your
Point of order. Councilmember Hayes.
I voted against this. I don't even know the gentleman, tell you the truth. Never have talked to him in my life. As we did with the school board, and with my background with the Chamber of Commerce and a banker for over 40 years, I like people on boards that understand business. We are a $70+ million enterprise. It's time we run this city, and it's time we run boards. Believe me, nobody is more behind the employees. We are known by our employees. Just like a bank teller. They're the people that meet the customers every day. Customers never meet a mayor or a bank president. But I believe we have to have a mindset of a business. We are a business. We need to run this like a business. Again, I don't even know what the gentleman does for a living. Never met him. But I will always vote to make sure we run this organization as a solid business. And nothing's more important to us than the employees. Just like in a business environment, nothing is more important, especially the people that talk, to meet the constituents on a daily basis. Don't accuse me of politics. I am not a politician. I'm a servant of the people. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Wilmot.
Thank you. And I just want to bring up an issue that we had, the last meeting we had two appointments, both for the Civil Service Board. We had this appointment that we had today, which was actually deferred from last meeting, and we had another one. The other one actually got appointed without that person even being here. No questions asked of them. And now we have a person who has great knowledge, great history, a true good public servant, and we're not allowing them on the board. That, to me, is very upsetting. But nonetheless, that's what this board decided to do, this council decided to do. I'm not happy about it. I think he would have been an excellent appointment. And procedurally, I guess I got the question now, what happens next? If the city attorney can chime in now that this appointment has not been approved, what's procedurally, what is next?
Procedurally, what would be next is that the civil service director would go back to the university that had appointed Mr. Donopoulos and ask for a new appointment.
And it's up, isn't it their appointment, though? Don't they have I know it's got to be confirmed by us, but it's their appointment.
That's the exact point, Councilman. The appointment must be confirmed or rejected by the council.
Right.
By charter.
Okay, so it's got to go back to them, and they come back, and it does the same process again.
Yes, sir.
So we better not have any elected or former elected officials as that appointee. Is that what we're understanding from this body today? That's wrong. But anyway, thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Brennan.
Thank you. And for clarification, the other appointment, which was acted on at the last meeting, had more than one recommendation. Thank you.
And Mr. Brown, last night when I spoke to you, I did not say either way that I was going on this piece of legislation.
Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, at the request of the city attorney, an executive session to discuss the following litigation as published on the City of Kenner Council agenda in accordance with state law. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Hayes, to adjourn into executive session. Council members, please vote. Motion passes 6-0 to adjourn into executive session. I emailed Ed, I'm like, do I really have to read all of this, or can I do this? And he went,
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Brennan to reconvene the meeting. It's not going. There we go.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 19 is unfinished business and there are motions to reconsider or remove from a table position. We have none. And item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters. We took that earlier. And item 21 is motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Adjourn.